Hello there. In a massive about turn, the police are suddenly getting tough with some protesters, but not others. I wonder why. Over the last couple of days, as soon as those pesky Just Stop Oil protesters got into the road, they were rounded up by the Met Police, bundled into vans and carted away to the cheers of lookers-on. Now this marks a massive change in attitudes. So who had read the Riot Act to who? Because it was not so long ago that it was tea and bickies all round for the protesters, with police officers asking the protesters what they could do for them. However, even if the police are now robustly clearing our streets of these irritants, there is no guarantee that the courts will find them not guilty of anything and send them on their way back to do the same thing again. But the really big question is, will the police be policing all protests that break the law in the same way? I ask this because Just Stop Oil, for all the annoyance they cause, are not in the habit of conducting running street battles with the police, unlike others may tend to do. Their tactic is to go as limp as possible when arrested, making it much more difficult for the police to cart them safely off to the cells. And as far as I can tell, going limp is not considered as resisting or obstructing arrest in the UK. Now I can see the police getting very robust with people protesting about our way of life being eroded. The recent so-called counter-protesters, for example. But it will be interesting to see how they police the next pro-Palestine marches and any splinter groups that try to repeat their recent antics. I wonder how many laws would suddenly once again be not broken. Anyway, Just Stop Oil activist numbers appear to be on the decline. They had 50 at an event earlier in the week, but could only muster 9 the next day. Possibly another factor in why the police felt comfortable with using the full extent of the law to deal with them. And Just Stop Oil has been pleading with people to join them in nationwide disruptive actions. But maybe people don't want to chance being plonked before the beak to answer for their actions. And that might be why the Just Stop Oil bunch, or at least some of their supporters, are starting to engage with the pro-Palestine marchers. Perhaps they see that as a safe way to protest with a much reduced chance of being arrested. But that just alienates them further as far as the majority of the UK population is concerned. Not only do they act disruptively, they are now associating themselves with pro-Hamas supporters and anti-Semites. Now, I do get asked by some to define the word antisemitism. And the people asking are usually pro-Palestine supporters saying that as both Hebrew and Arabic are part of the Semitic family of languages, that all those in the Middle East are Semites, not just the Jews. But that definition became obsolete where being a Middle Easterner is concerned, probably because of some people's hatred of Jews. And the term anti-Semitism has narrowed in definition over time and is now used to define that hatred. And given events over the last 100 years, it is a well-founded term and is generally understood to mean hatred of Jews. But pro-Hamas supporters are looking for every lever they can pull, however small that lever is. And I will continue to use the term anti-Semitic using its now accepted definition. And it is set out in the working definition of anti-Semitism as used by the UK government and the police. Anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews which may be expressed as hatred toward Jews. Rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed towards Jewish or non-Jewish individuals and or their property, toward Jewish community institutions and religious facilities. So never be distracted by those claiming it means anything else. For completeness, criticism of the State of Israel and its government is not included. Anyway, I digress. But given that working definition, do you think the police are correct when they say certain posters and phrases used by pro-Palestine activists do not break the law? Where will the police be going with their responses to further pro-Palestine marches is the question. And will the marches halt while this current ceasefire agreement holds? At the moment, Israel and Hamas, via mediation through the Qatari government, have agreed to a ceasefire, due to come into force tomorrow morning, barring legal challenges. And this will enable 50 hostages out of the approximately 250 that Hamas and its fellow travellers hold in the Gaza Strip to be returned to Israel, as well as 250 Palestinian prisoners held in Israeli jails to be released, and more emergency aid such as medicines, food, fuel and water to enter the Gaza Strip. Now, the government of Israel referred to this 4-day lull in fighting as a respite, and also reaffirmed their intent to have all those abducted returned to Israel, with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying that the ceasefire would be extended by a day for every 10 extra hostages that are released by Hamas. As I asked, will this be enough to get the pro-Hamas marchers off our streets? Well, according to the Palestine Campaign website, they are due to gather in central London once again this Saturday the 25th of November at noon, saying, "Israel is not stopping its bombardment of Gaza, so we will not stop marching for a ceasefire." Well, there may well be a ceasefire in force this Saturday, so why not give it a rest, eh? But they have laid on coaches from Birmingham, Bristol, Newport, Leeds, Plymouth, Exeter, Sheffield and Stoke. And amongst the organisers of this protest is the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament. Maybe they're feeling a bit irrelevant at the moment given the current state of geopolitics, where more countries are looking to become nuclear armed or come under the NATO nuclear umbrella for their own protection. And anyone who says nuclear deterrence does not work is a fool. The only reason Russia can keep up its attack on Ukraine is because Putin has nuclear weapons. So the West cannot intervene directly without the risk of sparking all-out nuclear war. So Russia's nuclear arsenal is deterring the West from acting. Nuclear deterrence obviously works. The fact that it is being used offensively by Russia changes nothing. Anyway, I wonder if Just Stop Oil will now be wanting to join the pro-Palestine list of organisers. But I doubt the pro-Palestine lot will want to take their foot off the gas, so to speak. They've built up a head of steam, and I doubt they'll want that to flag. But I wonder if the Met Police or government via the Home Office will be calling for this Saturday's protest to be called off due to the ceasefire once it comes into force. And we know they won't use the law to stop it. They've already shown they have no intention of doing that. But I would bet that the pro-Palestine mob would just say they'll keep going until there's a permanent ceasefire, together with a reference from the river to the sea, no doubt. And will we see loads of police officers drafted in from across the country again to walk alongside these protesters and protect them from those highly dangerous, far right counter-protesters?